JavaScript ES6 Template Literals. In ES5, complex string values can be created through using concatenation operations. That is, string values can be added together. Here we have an example where a variable using var is created called example. It is initially set to the string value example. Underneath that is a concatenation operation where an existing string, this is n, is then added, concatenated to the value of the string example. In ES5, it was frequently common to concatenate large string values by adding the values of variables together with existing strings. Think about it when working in a browser and concatenating lots of things for the content of HTML or other common operations like that, where complex string values were just created through concatenating, and concatenating different values. This is potentially very confusing and also hard to debug by checking every individual quotation mark and making sure everything is concatenated correctly together. In ES6, template literals were introduced. This allows for using the value of a variable directly within quoted string values using backticks. Backticks is a special character usually found above the tab key on most US layout keyboards. This used backticks around the quoted string to create a new string value where template literals will be used inside of these. Template literals are written using the $sign in front of open and closing curly brackets. Inside of this is the name of the variable or an expression that will become a string value that can then be used within the string using, again, backticks instead of quotation marks. So the two new syntax rules, or three new syntax rules, are when using template literals, we use backticks instead of quotation marks. Inside of those, we use the $sign and then opening and closing curly brackets around the expression or variable that we want to create into the string to concatenate. So when we're on JavaScript, we'll combine all these values together without explicitly using concatenation operations. Let's look at an example in VS Code. So here we have a string value here on line 2. Created string value is equal to the string hi. Down here on line 7, I'm using a template literal. So it is a string value, but is separated by backticks. Again, a special symbol. It's not a single quotation mark. It is a backtick. A backtick, again, is found usually above the tab key on keyboards. So notice backticks around this string value, and then a template literal is used. The $sign, opening and closing curly brackets, and then the value of a variable. During runtime, this entire thing will be converted to a string value. Notice we're not using concatenation here. There's no addition going on. It will create the string value for us using the template literal value and create the entire thing during runtime. Again, this saves us a lot of headache, especially when multiple concatenation operations would have happened. Instead, we can define with backticks everything we want using the string layouts that we want, and then using template literals with the values of variables within that now backticked spaced string. So again, particularly useful for complicated string operations where concatenation operations would have been used in ES5. Now in ES6, we can use template literals to put the values of variables directly within the string, again using the $sign and opening and closing curly brackets within backticks, not quotation marks. So particularly useful where in some use cases, not as useful perhaps in others, but again, extremely useful for the very common operation, especially when working with browsers or working with the document object model for manipulating HTML. In ES6, again, template literals can just place the value of a variable directly within the string using backticks around the string instead of the normal quotation marks.